reconciliation among churches with First Nations people. And we would take our regalia and our dance and our instruments into the church, and they would allow us to come in. And I was so excited about that kind of lifestyle because I wanted to share something that is so sweet, so rich to the church at the time, which it was. And this guy heard me playing, and he says after I was done playing, he came up and gave me this flute. And when he gave me this flute, I felt honored that someone would actually give me one of the flutes that they actually made themselves. And he was a non-native guy, but he made some nice flutes, and he played really good too. And and when I play this for that state itself. It kind of gave me a story to tell, and and I'll tell you the story because he was part of the story. I mean, he's part of the story I'm going to tell you that happened. When we were there doing this presentation or this teaching about our culture, one of the things I wanted to do when I landed when I was entering Dayton in Ohio was to go protocol the people, the original people of the land. And I could not find any native people in that area. For some reason, the pastor kept telling me, "No, there's nothing here, and there's no one here," he said. And one of the things I really wanted, I said, "There's got to be a place where they meet." And he says, "No, there's nothing here." I said, "Get on the phone and go and research and find out." And the third time he came, he says, "No, there's nothing. There's nothing in this area where this church is sitting." So I got this idea, and I think it's a lot. I think this will teach a lot us men. I went to the lady, the pastor's wife, and I asked her. I said, "Is there any historic place around this area that Native people were in this area?" And she says, "Okay, I'll go." Not 2 minutes later, she comes back and she goes, "Oh, there's a museum, a historic place, 1 mile down the street." I couldn't believe it. And so I learned to always ask the ladies first. They'll know and they'll get stuff done. So, anyways, we ended up going to this place. It was a museum, and we walked in there, and I remembered feeling that when I put my feet on this ground, I will feel something. And this is one of the things where you kind of like get in a really spiritual sense of what was going on in that area. And when I was really active in it, in the spiritual lifestyle of our culture. And I put my feet down, and I knew there was something about this place. And there was this big building, right? A museum, gift shop. And I walked in there, me and my friend. My friend was a Hispanic man, and the other one was a Scottish dude, and that's who I hung around with. And we walked in there, and I kept asking, I said, "Is there any Native people here?" And the guy came, he says, no, there's no one here, but we put up this museum to honor them and to let people know that they were here in this area. So anyways, I said, "Is there someplace I can visit? Someplace that the people did something?" And the guy says, "Yeah, right through those big doors." And I said, "But we're closed." So he kind of thought about it, and he says, "You know what? You guys can go in there. You guys can go through those doors." And I knew there was something behind that door that was going to change my thinking at the time for a purpose. And we opened the doors. You know how you open the doors together? It opens up like that. So you kind of see the light. We walked in there, right there, probably about here to the center of this road here. There was an old village there. It was dug out 4 feet underground. And then it was a whole village. And the way they had it set up was there's a meeting area, there's a living area, there's a cooking area, and there's a place where they just assemble and come together. But we did the tour on our own, and I walked around. And the man says, This is where all the medicine men, the leaders, the leaders of the community, they assemble here. They talk, and they talk about what's going to come that winter. So they would talk. So I was really drawn to that area. So we did the tour, and I told my two friends and the tour guide, I said, "You guys can go ahead. I'm going to stay, and I'm going to go inside this the meeting area." So I went in there. I walked in. And I sat down. Everything was the same. All the logs. I can't believe there was trees that were probably big as these ones here, wide, almost 2 feet. And that's an area that's kind of flat where I went. So anyways, I sat there. So I thought, I'm gonna start praying. So the only thing I can do is sing a song. So I sang one of our traditional songs in this area. Then a bird came on the roof of the building, and it started just making noise like crazy. I didn't even think, is there a nest there, or is this something is going on? There was nothing there, and it just kept making noise. So after I sang that song, I don't know if I was going a little off in my thinking, but I heard a voice, and the voice said, "Oh, it's been a long time since I heard that song, that sound." And I thought I seriously thought I was going a little nuts there. So, and I just sang this old song. So anyways, in honoring that feeling, that thought that I heard, I started singing a more modern song. That bird just made a little tweet noise. Then it took off, and I'm like, oh, darn it. But it really showed me that, and I was thinking in my mind, I said, well, this bird was probably just born this year or last year or something. How can it be? How can something like that naturally or supernaturally tell me something that they missed that sound? Meaning that old traditional song. So I thought about it, and I thought about it, and this is what it taught me when I was listening to that, when I heard that, go through that experience, was a DNA was going through that bird. So the DNA of that bird was still living. So if it's living in that bird, then it's living in all of us. So I had the DNA of my ancestors, my grandparents, my mom, and myself. And my kids had that DNA of me. So it always lives within us, our DNA. So when I got this flute, like I said, I was so excited. Because that person says, it's time for a new sound, and it's time to gift each other. And we ended up talking about the flute, how, like I always say, complicated, easy to play, but complicated to play, because there's so much notes and so much things you can switch off, and it will change the song. So I ended up going back, but I wanted more, I wanted more. So we ended up back at the church. I said, there's something else I need to see, now that I experienced that feeling. Then he says, oh, there's a big plaque over here. There's a big plaque at these 4 rivers, they call it. And they all meet in one. So I know something was going to happen again. This is a cool experience, I'll tell you. So anyways, this pastor was trying to show me this plaque, but I was not drawn to that plaque. So I started walking to the rivers. To the rivers there. There's two on my right, two on my right, two on my left. And they all meet at one. So I was walking towards there, and I just had this thing where I seen, this is when I was really getting into my spirituality, my spiritual lifestyle with the culture. I seen native people on the water, on the river, paddling down, and I seen people rushing to this one river, They were all rushing. And I can see half of their knees, half of their knees were in the ground. Their waists were in the ground. You can see necks, just their heads. They were all still rushing to this thing. to this area. And so I was thinking that looks weird. You know, Native people, when we get into a really spiritual level, we see things and we don't really understand, but we will understand at the end. So anyways, all this was happening. People were all happy. All these Native people were all happy going to this one place. Their canoes were filled with stuff, everything full. And all of a sudden, this pastor says, I said, I see things, I was telling him. And I want to explain it to you. You need to tell me what I'm seeing. So I started explaining to him what I'm telling you guys. And he says, oh. Then he says, oh, this whole area that you're looking at right now, a big storm came, a big flood. Then it ripped all the stuff off. So they had to re-landscape the whole area. Then I was like, oh my gosh. So they're actually walking on the real grounds. That's why I'm seeing them. Their legs, or half of their legs were in the ground. Their heads, the foreheads, they were all rushing. So I looked at this tree. To this day I always think, why? And I looked at this tree, and this tree almost felt like it was speaking to me. He says, don't ask me, I wasn't here. So that tree was planted there, and this tree was huge. So those kind of things that I experienced happened to me all the time at that time, really seeking my spirituality and the identity of who I was as a First Nation, as a person that's willing to open up. So when I play this next flute song, it's for you guys to open up your minds, despite how young or old we are, that we can still go into that spiritual level with the Creator. So I'm relearning stuff again, and I love it because it's making me go back, checking myself out, make sure I'm right. So this song is dedicated to all of you guys and our ancestors, regardless where we come from.